Hi, it's Chris England, so I'm doing another summoning video. This time it's a lot later than I was expecting, but I've been a lot busier with work than I thought I was. I'm happy with what I'm doing right now, but that's beside the point. So this is definitely coming out like at least a month after the actual banner ended. Um, so this is the Divine Harvest Fall Festival banner with all the dragons. So in addition to what I normally will do, so answering some questions that I can think of, or as when I get a 5 star, I'm also going to be doing a point system based on what the pulls are. So because this banner has 5 star specifics as well as 4 star specifics, I'm going to be doing a point value based on what I've pulled. So a basic 5 star no non-focus will be 1 point. A 5 star focus will be 2 points, and this is regardless of any IVs whatsoever. I don't care if it's like as a poor IV or one of the best IVs. This will be one of those cases where it doesn't matter either way. A 4 star special will be worth half a point because a lot of these units should really be in the 3 to 4 star pool, not as a separate 3% pull rate for whatever reason they decide to keep these units in that actual pool. And then a 4 star focus will be another point with 2 points going to it if it is a 5 star version of itself. Now, I was originally thinking that they would be no different, but I figured that this is one of those cases where I don't think it's worth trying to figure out anything more than it should be. So, and then in addition to the questions, at the very end, I will state what I pull, the value of the banner, and I'll say whether or not I feel like it was like a below average, kind of the expected average, or the like a really excellent pull set. Like I can't say anything. And the other thing also for this is any pulls that I get outside of the specific banner, so like free pulls and the spark, don't count towards this amount, because if you counted them, they'd automatically be worth 2 points anyway, since they're all the 5 star focus. So without further ado, let's start. So starting off with the usual of skipping 4-star specials until we get to an actual 5-star, we get a plus defense minus speed Dorcas. So this one is a merge for the one that I already have. I believe mine might actually take on that plus defense. I also get another E1 4-star special. This one's plus speed minus HP, which again, not necessarily one of the worst things. I do think that definitely E1 does not deserve to be in the 4-star special pool. He's one of those units that I definitely think that for. But we did manage to pull a Halloween male Corin. Sadly, this one is plus HP minus attack. But like I said, it's not going to be one of those cases where I'm very hung up about the HP or the IVs in general. So probably some of the first questions are there any random mid-boss characters that you would like to see in Fae? Uh, so mid-boss in terms of this are characters that are just one-shot characters that that don't show up outside of maybe like one or the one chapter, with the exception of some games having them as last fighters. So I think definitely from 7, I would like to see Jerme, the assassin, the Death Kite. I just really hope that they give him a very interesting voice actor. I guess Kenneth would also be on that one, but I probably would prefer Jerme. Then from 8, I think I really am kind of surprised that we haven't finished all of the 6 stones, because we do have Dussel, we have Selena, we have Kalek, Riev. I think the only one that and we have Valter. The only one we're really missing is Glenn. And I'm very surprised. I'm not super surprised because he doesn't have that big of a role in Ephraim's route. We do see him die to Valter in Erica's route. But I think the bigger one for me is Ismare, the mother, Joshua's mother, and the queen of Johanna as of up to chapter 14. I do definitely want to see her in the game. I think the only other character that I personally would like to see, and that's kind of a mid-boss, so again, I'm not that surprised if this is a case where we don't see them until like 2-3 years later, is going to be Jill's father, Shaharam Fizart. Just because he's one of those really weird cases where you can't be like, oh, Jill's going to go ahead and kill him. No, he will recruit Jill back, and that becomes very hard to do against because you have to recruit her again with an A support, either Mist or Lathe, I think, from what I remember. But those are the 3 major mid-bosses mid-bosses or NPCs that I would like to see. I guess another NPC that I personally would like to see that I'm still kind of waiting on. Let's see. I think in general, I'm just waiting for a lot of the like lesser valued characters to come in, as well as the other lesser values to get alts. Anyways, to the remaining summons. And the luck keeps coming with a plus attack minus speed Bernie. And I finally got a Brave Camilla. Sadly, she is plus HP minus speed, but like I said, I really don't care enough about the IVs to make a stink about it. So this is another one of those cases where I want to see certain characters, but I want to see certain characters get alts. And I think one of my top characters that I really want to see is Donald. And that's because he's kind of one of the weirdest characters in Awakening. He's got the most potential to be a very strong unit, but this is a game this is kind of one of those cases like Thracia where having good growth rates really doesn't matter enough to make a difference because all the characters have have the same stat caps with all their stats maxing out at 20 except for HP, which maxes out at 80. In the case of Awakening, every character does have different max stat caps, but because you can re-roll your character as much as you want, the only thing that you're really aiming for is the skills that you get. So in Donald's case, because he has only 3 advanced classes, none of which wield lances, so he has to when you reclass him, he has to restart as an E rank or whatever you can get if you have an armed scroll. Or you keep him as a villager, he has really bad stats, but he uses lances. And then the other thing is because he has both a fighter and mercenary, he goes into either hero, warrior, or bow knight. Sadly, hero dupes on this one, so he only has 3 classes in the advanced pool. And of course, I'm not including Dreadfighter in this one because I know that not everyone has the DLC. I'm just betting on this idea, including the DLC that's 4. So using just the 3, that leaves him with only 6 advanced skills to get out. And then I think that you can include the 4 from Dreadfighter to make a max of 10. Now, you are always going to use Armstrength on him, but the fact is that he just has, he was built up to be a very high potential unit, but the thing is that his potential is kind of squandered on the type of game that he's in. Like, if you didn't have the multiple rounds of reclassing, like if they did what Sacred Stones did and had him promote once you reached level 10, and then only had you go up through one link, in that case, it would make more sense. But in this case, his stat caps don't matter enough. At least, this is, of course, from my personal perspective of the game. I do definitely want to see him better, like given some kind of hero alt or warrior alt, something to break his, what is it right now? 5 years, and I'm going to go ahead and say about 8-month gap without a single alt. And that, I think, is sad. Anyways, on to the next summon part. And to finish off summons, we get a plus attack minus res Marianne. This is the regular version, not the brave version, sadly. But again, that is a merge for the one that I already have. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and answer the question that probably I started with, and what values do I consider as the point system? So first and foremost, we're going to start with the 2 from Halloween Corin. We add another 1 for Bernie, and for the Bernie and for Marianne. Again, kind of forgetting. And then it's a half point for every single one of the 4-star specials. So Dorcas and Ewan will count as 1, so we're at 5. And then we have the last one being Camilla. So that was a 5.5 point banner. Now, based on the rates, I would, because each one is at a 3% growth rate, and this is going just bare bones, not going anything deeper, you should be able to get at least 4.5 points in total from a banner to be able to say that I broke even. In other words, to say that this is kind of the expected average. I got slightly higher, so that would mean that it's more of an average because I'm not including any of the growths from pity rate increases. So it could easily be 5, 5.5 in terms of value. So I do think that it is a personal system. I do think that I've seen some people with really good pull rates on certain banners. I've seen people with absolutely rotten luck on banners. But this is also valuable for any banner that you can use. And I saw the Speedy Hawk did something like this where it was summoner duels before summoner duels were actually a thing. You could kind of rename them summoning duels instead if that's doable. But it was based on a point score based on what units had value, what units still had value for. And unlike in my case where I'm not really counting the IVs, he actually had cases where if you pull a focus unit and it has a really good IV, it's actually worth more than a unit that doesn't have it. I feel like that's a little bit unfair because I know I've been wronged so many times with a lot of my IVs in general. So that's at least something that I think is valuable to the game. I don't know if it's super valuable. I probably will continue to do it based on what I think is realistically valuable for my videos, as it does add content for what I have. But as for the Spark, of course I'm going to go for the Duma Milla combo. I could easily go for the Halloween female Corin, but the duo has more value is because it counts for more, and also he has better skills. So that's it for that one. Let's go ahead and do the Spark and any other summons that could. And that's the end with Spark being a Duma. Sadly, none of my free summons panned out, unlike some other videos, but what can I say? Free summons are free summons. So this was a very average banner for me. As I said before, the 5.5 points for what I summoned. I did actually summon a good amount of 5 stars for what I think I got in the 40 summons. But I do think that there could have been a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, maybe at least one Halloween Naga. I'm probably not going to go anything further in this banner because the other banners that I see are definitely more interesting. But I think one last question would be, I answer the question based on units that are actually in the game, but GHBs are a whole different ballpark. And one unit that I definitely think I don't know if deserves is the right word at this point, but I do think that they should get another alt eventually, and that's Lloyd. Because Lloyd is kind of what Donald is as well. They're both year 1 units with absolutely bad refines, and their stat lines aren't enough to, even with a resplendent, probably to keep up with the current meta. Like, you could probably get Lloyd to +10 max feather and get him the perfect skill set, and he'd still lose because you'd still have to change out his weapon. Now, with the arcane weapons, he is a little bit better, but I do feel like he's another one of those units where he's gone more than about 5.5 years in total without an alt. And I do think that that's sad. Now, granted, none of the only 4 Fang that you have that actually does have an alt is Jafar. And that's because he's a playable unit. You don't actually get to play with Ursula, Lloyd, or Linus. But Lloyd is one of those cases where, at least with Ursula too, Ursula is just waifu material. But when you get to Lloyd's refine is utter garbage. It's not utter garbage since I've never actually used it, but I don't feel like it's worth the amount of effort you have to get all the divine dues. 2,500 coins and then 200 stones is not worth it for him. Or if you even going just by the 200 divine dues and 500 coins or medals, it's still not worth it. So I do think that he definitely should. He's definitely on my top list for units that deserve. I personally want alts for. I don't know if they're ever going to get them though. That's the sad part. Well, anyways, that's it for this round. Thanks for watching. If you like whatever the heck I'm doing at this point, feel free to subscribe. It does help the channel, and it actually does make me feel like I'm doing something that is more worth it than just me doing this for fun. I'm doing all these videos for fun, and I enjoy it. I've always wanted to do these. So, thanks for watching.